Happy birthday, PlayStation! Welcome back, everybody. My name is Big Boss X, and today we're here with another video. But before we start, I would like to say thank you for the 350 plus subscribers to the channel. I have my special PlayStation shirt on right now, so we're gonna go through the history of PlayStation here with this special site that Sony has set up. So thank you again. Hopefully you can like, comment, subscribe on this video, and let's get started. So as you guys know, Sony has put up this website with the 30 years of PlayStation. It's their 30th anniversary as the day I'm putting this video up. So here you have the 30th, the original PlayStation. I'm actually 30 years old, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, we have the original PlayStation. So I thought we could just go through the website, and I can bring you some of my favorite PlayStation moments as well. I can put some put some clips in here, and let's just go through the history of PlayStation. So again, 1994, December 3rd, the day this video is going up, the PlayStation has officially launched. And if you guys don't know, PlayStation, Sony and Nintendo are actually going to make a console together, but last minute, Nintendo ditched Sony and went with Philips instead. And Sony's like, man, screw that, we're going to make our own console. So that's kind of the birth of the PlayStation. So we have some games here. We have Twisted Metal. Looks like Resident Evil. Can't really tell. This picture is pretty distorted. But yeah, we have some pretty a lot of iconic moments. Do not underestimate the power of the PlayStation. 102 million PlayStation sold from 1994 to 2006. 2006 actually when the PlayStation 3 came out, which is kind of crazy. Sony has a lot of overlap, even when the PlayStation 2 came out, which we'll talk about later. PlayStation 2 sold until I think right when the PlayStation 4 started. But yeah, changing the game. We have some very iconic 3D games. Paul Rapper the Rapper, that's one of my favorites. Final Fantasy 7. This is I think Tekken 2, and Medieval. Yeah, there's some Sweet Tooth, which is Twisted Metal. Wow. It goes way back. 32-bit CPU, 3D graphics, games on a CD, which is why Nintendo went with Philips. The CD-ROM format, which was bringing a lot better quality than what Philips gave him. Tell Dad if you stay home, I can't total the car. And that was kind of their slogan back in the day, which is kind of crazy. This picture right here, this is the later PlayStation 1. The original PlayStation 1 didn't have a sticks. You just had the D-pad. That's why they called it tank controls back in the day. We have that, and this is the original PlayStation 1. This is like the PlayStation 1, which is like their remodel. And then this is the PlayStation Classic that came out in 2018 with about, I think, 20 games that came out on that, preloaded. And it was kind of weird because I think some of these were PAL region games, so it didn't run at the 60 hertz as original. And then, oh my god, if the PlayStation 1, let me tell you guys, had demo discs back in the day. I'll throw some up on the screen right here. These are two of my personal demo discs that I still have to this day. I played the blue one a lot, which had actually I played them both a lot. The blue one had Metal Gear Solid 1 on it, and the red one had Tekken 3. You can only play with Ling Xiaoyu and Eddie Gordo. Those were my two of my favorite demo discs, but some of the other games on there were like Hot Shots Golf, Crash, Tomb Raider. Then the PlayStation 1 also had like a portable screen and speakers, like this PlayStation 1 here, as you see. This is the first time that you'd had like a memory cards, and you could have I forgot the attachment that you could hook up to the PlayStation, so you can have like multiple people playing at the same time. Yeah, but again, this is the original controller. It went through a few different iterations. So this is the one with the dual analog controller with the sticks have the grooves in, so your thumbs can rest in it. And then this is what they call the Dual Shock. I actually had the Dual Shock, but it had the PlayStation. It didn't have this logo on it. It had this logo on it, but the sticks were different. It were these sticks for sure. And yeah, it had multiple colors. The memory cards were multiple colors. Had this thing. I never even seen this thing. It kind of reminds me of the what Sony has now. They have like kind of like a handicap accessibility controller. And then you had these, the memory cards, classic OG 8-bit memory cards. Multi-tap. This is the thing that I was talking about, the multi-tap. And then the pocket station was kind of like a Pokemon Pikachu, if you remember those back in the day. Just you take it away and you can play games on the go. The PlayStation mouse. And yeah, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. I played Tomb Raider 2 and 3 back in the day, but only the demos. But yeah, these are some of the games back in the day. Tekken, which is still going on today. Wipeout, great game. I think Sega did the last Wipeout game. Ridge Racer, iconic game, iconic racing game. Ridge Racer. Paul Rapper the Rapper, another iconic game. All of these are iconic games. Tomb Raider, Resident Evil. Hopefully Resident Evil 9 gets announced soon. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth just came out earlier this year. Gran Turismo, I think a new my first Gran Turismo should be coming out soon. I think it got rated recently in Taiwan. Crash Bandicoot, this had one of the hardest levels ever. It was called the High Road. Oh my goodness, I actually have a video of that on the channel. I'll probably leave it down below if you want to check that out. Metal Gear Solid, my favorite game. Solid Snake, or if you play Metal Gear Solid 3, Big Boss, which is where I got my name from. Ape Escape, another classic. And yeah, the Psycho Mantis boss in Metal Gear Solid. You had to switch your controller around so he couldn't read your movements. And yeah, that was the PlayStation 1. And here is a reveal of the first PlayStation.
I'm going to ask Sony Computer Entertainment President of America, Steve Reyes, to join me for a brief presentation. $299.
And before we go on to the PlayStation 2, I just want to list off a few of my favorite PlayStation 1 games. We had Metal Gear Solid 1, of course, Final Fantasy 7, of course, Croc 1, Legend of the Gobos, Croc 2, Crash Team Racing, which they remade a few years ago as Nitro Kart, Tekken 3, that was probably one of my first fighting games ever. The other one was like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. I used to get babysat at my grandma's house, and I played that all day. Sledstorm, great game. I just remember the soundtrack for Sledstorm was so iconic back in the day. Blasto was like a dude. He looked like Johnny Bravo, and he had like a ray gun. He was kind of like an outer space shooter. And Tomb Raider, of course. All those games back on the PlayStation 1. That's what I played growing up. And let's go to the PlayStation 2. Here we have the PlayStation 2. This came out, I believe, in 2000. 2000, yeah. I did not get a PlayStation 2 till 2005 though. This is when my PlayStation 1, the spindles would stop holding the distance place, so that's when I got a PlayStation 2. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, PlayStation 2, this was the PlayStation 2 Fat, that's what they called it back in the day. This is kind of, I guess, the birth of the fat systems and slim systems. So PlayStation 2 officially sold 160 million consoles since 2000. Remember the thing about the PlayStation 2 is like it could play DVDs as well. It's like one of the first DVD players. I know people use that as an excuse for like why it sold so much, but a lot of people bought a PlayStation 2 and they didn't just play DVDs, they played video games. A lot of people that I know had a PlayStation 2. Yeah, Call of Duty, God of War, Final Fantasy Online. That was one of the first systems you could play online as well. So yeah, and this is a motion engine chip, which is like it's basically the heart of the PlayStation 2. And the early PlayStation 3s had it as well, but we'll talk about that later in the video as well. But basically, the CPU was dubbed the motion engine due to its ability to generate realistic images for the time, and it was compromised and had 8 separate units, each with specific functions. I don't remember exactly how the unit was broken down, but it had it was basically certain parts of the chip had it could do certain things for certain games, and I'm pretty sure mostly first party took advantage of that. But that's a chip. This chip was also in the early PlayStation 3s, but again, we'll talk about it later. Again, this is when DVDs was first like a thing. As you see, the PlayStation 2, when they went from the fat to the slim, I know, or I believe they also had like the blue disc DVDs, and then they had just the regular DVDs later in the cycle. And then I had a slim, which came out in 2004. I got mine again in 2005. And then they had the white, the silver, the black. It was PlayStation 2 was probably one of the best systems. I'm upset I got it so late in this life cycle. And yeah, it had the network adapter. It had games online. So you had Tony Hawk, Capcom vs SNK 2, SOCOM, Final Fantasy 11, Star Wars Battlefront. I played Battlefront on the PSP though. I didn't play it on the PS2. I only had one PS2 game online. I'll talk about it in just a second. It was probably the only reason I played for so long and like in long sittings. But yeah, it had backwards compatibility, so you can play PlayStation 1 games that were still coming out. And yeah, PlayStation 2 has some of the best games ever. Like, honestly, Jak and Daxter. I believe this just got a PlayStation 5 version on the PlayStation Store if you have Premium or Plus, I believe. I can't remember which one. We have Twisted Metal Black, great game. Eco, I actually never played Eco. I believe it's on the PlayStation Store though. Ratchet and Clank, which is still going on today. Sly Cooper, legendary game. I think 2 and 3 are about to be out on the PlayStation Store as well. Killzone, this was supposed to be Sony's Halo killer at the time. Unfortunately, they do not make Killzone anymore. Please make Killzone. But Killzone was such a great game, especially on the PlayStation 4. It looked so, the graphics were so good. It was just a really good shooter, solid shooter. God of War, which is the very first game I got on PlayStation 2. Resident Evil 4, I never played on PlayStation 2. I had it on the Wii, I believe. But still a very great game, and they even remade it a few years ago. Shadow of the Colossus, great game. I played that. And yeah, SingStar was also a really big thing on PlayStation. PlayStation 2, you had the mics, you just hook it up and you sing, like it's like karaoke in your house. So that's it. So that's the we're about to go into PSP in a second, but the PlayStation 2 I only had a few games I really got a chance to play before we hopped over to the PlayStation 3. I played Metal Gear Solid 3, of course. I played God of Wars 1 and 2, and Metal Gear Solid Online was the really big game that I played. I loved that game. I hop on, play that game, hop off. That was the game that I played all the time, was Metal Gear Solid 2. Now, it is 2004. The DS has been on a verge. The Game Boy has sold like gangbusters. Sony comes out with the PSP. And it came out in the States, at least, March 24th, 2005. PSP is probably one of the most versatile systems. I think this is, was it right before the iPhone? But it just had apps on apps on apps. It had Skype, the PlayStation Network store, just to name a few. And yeah, the PSP 1000. I actually had my PSP 1000 I got mine in Japan because the States only had the black one, so I got a white one. I got the exclusive white PSP. Everyone hated on me for it. But here's some games. The PSP came on. The games came on what they call the UMD, or Universal Media Drive. It was basically these little discs that you fit inside of the PSP slot. A few these games here. You see Paul Rapper the Rapper, Jak and Daxter. I can't tell what Grand Theft Auto that is. That looks like a Vice City Stories. Patapon, Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo was probably one of the hardest games to build on the PSP. That game was pretty crazy. And the thing about the PSP as well, you can have music on it, you can have movies on it, and whew, PSP is one of the greatest systems of all time. And the next iteration of it just upped the ante. So you can play online. I played again Star Wars Battlefront online. I can't think of any other games that I played online for the PSP. They had ad hoc mode. You can send games to friends. And here's just a few of the games. Ape Escape on Loose. Siphon Filter, Dark Mirror. I think this was actually the last Siphon Filter game that came out. Loco Roco, great puzzle game. Patapon, great puzzle game. God of War Chains of Olympus. They also have Ghost of Sparta. Ghost of Sparta was also a really good game. Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. I believe that was only on PSP and the DS. And Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which is one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, I mean, few of my favorite games on the PSP, I would say Metal Gear Acid, and I'm gonna go with Metal Gear Acid 2. We're gonna go Metal Gear Peace Walker. We're gonna go Patapon. We're gonna go my very first GTA, which was Liberty City Stories. I played that every day. I took it to school when I shouldn't have. Played it in class, and yeah. So here's the PlayStation 2 reveal.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the latest addition to the PlayStation family. Thank you. Why is PlayStation Portable so important at this stage in the game? After building tremendous equity in the home console space, we began to look at the mobile market. We waited to introduce a product at the right time, and we believe the timing now is right. So, what is PlayStation Portable? It is a handheld video game system that offers 3D CG games incorporating high-quality, full-motion video similar to PlayStation 2. PlayStation Portable is as revolutionary as PlayStation, but in different ways. It incorporates new technologies like curved surfaces and wireless connectivity. PlayStation Portable will allow consumers to enjoy 3D gaming similar to the experience delivered on PlayStation 2. It is based on a new optical disc medium developed by Sony called Universal Media Disc, or UMD. It incorporates wireless technology that will allow for new types of consumer interaction while gaming, as well as a multitude of opportunities for downloadable entertainment content, a first in this industry. And all of this is made possible through cutting-edge technologies aimed at helping us explore the future in new ways.
We're gonna switch and flip so we get the hits that'll make you move your hips. In line with the funky rhyme, and the people say we gon' lose our mind. What?
Oh, now the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 had such a rough start. It started in, I believe, 2006, when they had the reveal at E3, and they said it was going to be $599 US. I think Kaz Harai went on stage and announced that.
The 60 gigabyte PlayStation 3 for $599 US.
That was, wow. I still remember it because when they announced it, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get one of these for a long time. But yeah, let's go through it. Oh, 2007. So it maybe, oh, yep, 06, Europe 07. But yeah, PlayStation 3. This is, I think, one of the first systems that had like a hard disk drive, or HHD or HDD, hard disk drive. Yeah. And if I don't know if you guys remember, the PlayStation 3 had some really creepy commercials, like this one right here. But yeah, so this one sold 87 million, and PlayStation 3 had some really innovative stuff. They had they had this app called Folding at Home, which basically was gathering power and sending information to some research. They had PlayStation Home. They had a pretty interesting generation. They had the XMB, or the cross media bar, which is like really great. Actually, something they didn't put in here was the PSX, which is basically a PlayStation 2 and a DVR. That goes up here. But yeah, they had the 3D glasses. It was HDMI, 1080p, even though most games ran, I think, 720, or even like 1080i, which is kind of weird. Of course, the PlayStation 3 did get remodeled a few times. So this is the Slim on the left, 2009, and this is the Super Slim. This is the one I have because my original PlayStation 60 gig broke, sadly, because that was backwards compatible with the PlayStation 2 and the 1. This was also the first like iteration of Blu-ray. So right now, this is like first gen Blu-ray. Right now we have like Ultra Blu-ray, which does like 100 gigs on a disc. But yeah, a lot of people got this because Blu-ray was killing HD DVD at the time. The HD DVD, I think Xbox had used it at the time, and they had like a separate drive on the side, HD DVD. But yup. And then if you guys also remember, when the PlayStation 3 first came out, they had the 6-axis controller, which is kind of like gyroscope, but this is like their name for it. And the cool part about it, if you spell 6-axis backward, it spells 6-axis. It was a Bluetooth controller, wireless, first time for PlayStation. And then it was a little bit later they came out with the DualShock 3. Basically, the 6-axis didn't have rumble, so the DualShock 3 kind of just improved on that, gave it the rumble. I have a few of these still around the house. I had like a white one, a blue one, black one. The PlayStation Move controller, this was a really cool thing. It was supposed to be like the Wiimote. Actually, I did go to they had an event in Washington DC where they first showed this thing off, and I believe there's some games on here. Sports Champion was the one that was really popular. And there was Start of the Party, Book of Spells, PlayStation Move Heroes. I don't even remember this one, so let's just keep going. But yeah, we had MotorStorm, Resistance, Fall of Man. The whole Resistance trilogy was on PlayStation 3, if I remember correctly. So 2 was really good. I think Resistance 2 was probably my favorite. MotorStorm, there's MotorStorm, and then there was kind of like in the desert, there was an Arctic Rift, and then Pacific Rift. So MotorStorm had like 3 games. I think Matt had a 4. I think there was one on PSP as well. Uncharted, Drake's Unforgettable, that was like one of the greatest games of all time at the moment, especially for like a launch game. And then Uncharted 2 kind of just improved on that. And then Uncharted 3 was great as well. I think Uncharted 2 is the best in the series, though. Just my personal opinion. Assassin's Creed, that's when that started, 07. Jeez, this was great. I still have Assassin's Creed. A Little Big Planet 1, 2, and 3. I want to say Infamous 1 and 2. Great games, all great. Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo actually started as Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, and then this is probably like the beginning of the PlayStation 3, and then they came with the actual full game Gran Turismo. I didn't play Grand Theft Auto 5. I played 4, but another great game from the PlayStation 3 era, Last of Us. Again, the creators of Naughty Dog, who made Uncharted. Great game. They had factions on there on their online multiplayer mode. It was so fire. The PlayStation 3 era was just so good. I definitely have to say probably my favorite PlayStation 3 games was Uncharted 1 and 2, The Last of Us, and Infamous 1 and 2. Those are probably going to be my three games. Also Killzone, and Red Dead Redemption. Oh my God, those are good games. And then that was also the birth of the PlayStation Network, where you could start buying digital media online. So you can buy your games, you can buy movies, you can buy it all on the PSN. And then and you start playing online as well. That was a thing. That's when they started making trophies to compete with Xbox's achievements. Yeah, PlayStation Home, which I mentioned earlier, which is kind of like kind of reminds me of The Sims, but like always online. You had your own like little space, you can purchase stuff. It was very interesting space, for sure. And yeah, that was the PlayStation 3. Before I move on from the PlayStation 3, how could I forget the legend himself, Chad Ward? Here's a video of Chad Ward.
It's Chad Ward in here. Alright, I'm talking about that PS Triple. The PS Triple.
Also, this is another plugin. If you guys remember, PlayStation 3 era, I believe it was PlayStation 3, had a gaming magazine on the PlayStation Store called Core. It was QORE, and you could just get exclusive stuff during there. Just go like kind of behind the scenes of PlayStation, and you get like exclusive beta access. You just have to subscribe. The PlayStation 3 was like when the era when the things started turning. I mean, you could tell by the creepy commercials of the baby. But yeah, PlayStation 3, great era. It is 2011, and the PSP has been on the market for X amount of years, and people are saying we want a second stick on our handheld console. And then the PS Vita was born. Now, if I remember correctly, the Vita stood for life. And it came out in the States, at least, February of 2012. Now, the Vita had some pretty interesting games. Persona 5 Golden and a few other ones. I mean, great games, but it was very underrated. I think it was before its time, because if you see some of the things that the Vita was doing, and then you compare it to like the Switch, ahead of its time. But it had a camera on it, front and back. It had a touchpad, OLED display, remote play to your PlayStation 4, if I remember correctly. The PSP also had a remote play to the PS3. A ton of indie games. It had like a PlayStation mini store. You could play your PlayStation PSP, your PlayStation 1 games on there. One of my favorite games was Uncharted Golden Abyss, Gravity Rush, Metal Gear, of course, and anything Metal Gear is like really my favorite. Wipeout 40. The graphics on this thing looked crazy. I think the graphics on the Vita might have been better than the Switch, some of the Switch games today, to be honest with you. Persona 4 Golden, Soul Sacrifice, a game that's not on here, is Freedom Wars, which is coming out. They're relaunching Freedom Wars in 2025, I think. Like, those are just some of my favorite games. And yeah, that was the PSP. I mean, PS Vita. And you can hook it up to your PlayStation Vita, PlayStation TV. Just some weird PlayStation. The Vita had like a really rough cycle. It sold, and they didn't even put the sales number. But it wasn't great, and that's kind of why Sony kind of stopped doing handheld systems for a little bit. The Vita didn't catch on like I guess like what they thought it was. I think if I remember, the PSP sold like almost 100 mil. But yeah, that's the PlayStation Vita, and here's the reveal.
So I'm very proud to showcase, for the first time in North America, the successor to the PlayStation Portable. What you've come to know as NGP, our next generation portable, is officially named PlayStation Vita. Thank you. Thank you. So, what does Vita mean? Vita means life, and we're confident that PlayStation Vita will be the first product that truly blurs those lines between entertainment and your real life, empowering you to play, interact, and connect like never before. The features alone are cutting edge. 2 analog sticks that give you dual shock-like control of games, a stunning multi-touch 5-inch OLED screen, front and rear touchpads, 6-axis motion sensing technology, and of course my favorite feature, front and rear cameras allowing for augmented reality experiences never before seen, completely blurring the lines between reality and interactive entertainment. PlayStation Vita will have both Wi-Fi and 3G Wi-Fi models for on-the-go entertainment. This will allow for everything from social networking to location-based gaming that help you find and meet friends for brand new experiences. Now, of course, having such an impressive set of network features and ambitions requires the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. And we'll be partnering with AT&T as the exclusive carrier for PlayStation Vita in the United States. There we go. Now, customers with an AT&T service plan will also have free access at more than 24,000 AT&T Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. And together, we'll deliver breakthrough entertainment experiences that bring you closer to your entertainment and, of course, closer to us.
Here we have the PlayStation 4. It is, I think, 2013 E3. They announced the PlayStation 4 is going to be, what, $399 US, and which was a big thing at the time because Xbox literally just came off their show and said their console's coming out for 500, and yeah, PlayStation 3, 2013 November. We have some great games here. Ghost of Tsushima, which kind of ended the generation. Horizon, near the end of the generation. Well, kind of late generation. Until Dawn, which is just, all these are on PlayStation 5. Bloodborne, The Order 1886, Tearaway, which is also on the Vita. No Man's Sky, which is still going on today. I still remember going to Costco, picking mine up, and I had a Costco bundle so you get extra controller and PlayStation Plus. It was so nice. Sold 117 million units, and I think they're still being produced, if I remember correctly, because they're still making games for the PlayStation 4 until 2026. Is what I read. But yeah, there's a new game still being produced today. That's very true, because I just picked up a Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection just last week on the PlayStation for the PlayStation 4, because there's not a native PlayStation 5 version. But yeah, PSN went to a whole nother level. It was on the system. 8 gigs of GDDR5, remote play. You had the Glacier White when they did the remodel, and they had a lot of limited edition systems. If you remember the Death Stranding, the Destiny, had a lot of stuff. They had this is the 25th anniversary edition PlayStation 4, which actually resells for a lot. I still got the controller though. That was the big thing. And this is the DualShock 4, one of the greatest controllers in history. Had the touchpad. It was a bigger than a regular DualShock, the 1 through 3 at least, and it just felt better in hands. And you'll see the DualSense later, which is what we currently have today. But it had the share button. You can screenshot stuff, share it straight to YouTube, Twitch. You could stream off the PlayStation 4. That was like one of the big things. Yeah, share button, the light bar, and then the light bar was really creative. So like some games will take advantage of the light bar, and say like you're about to die, the light bar would change from like, I guess, green or like blue to like red, like, oh, you're about to die, or like a yellow, like, oh, you're near death, stuff like that. It had a mic built in, and then yeah, great games. You had the Playroom, which is one of the games you can just kind of go around and mess around. Killzone Shadowfall, which I mentioned earlier during the PlayStation 2 section of this video. One of the best launch games. It just looked really, really pretty. Resogun was like one of the great games that was on PSN at the time. Another game that was on the store was a Warframe. And that was like the two games I was playing back and forth. Infamous Second Son, Cole from Infamous 1 and 2 was kind of gone. We had this new guy. Bloodborne, one of my favorite games of all time, even though it was so frustrating and infuriating. It took me like 3 years to beat this game. Last Guardian, another great game. Uncharted 4, Thief's End, I was like the end of the Uncharted series right there. Horizon Zero Dawn, this is what Guerrilla did after they moved on from Killzone. Spider-Man, banger game, banger of a game. God of War, oh, very good. Bangers. Like, the PlayStation 4 went off on such bangers of a game. Like, you went from Spider-Man to God of War to Ghost of Tsushima to Last of Us Part 2 in like a 2-year time. Woo! It was smoking. But like, some of my favorite PlayStation 4 games, were Persona 5 The Royal. That was a remake of Persona 5. Well, not remake, re-release with like an additional palace at the end and additional content. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which is actually shockingly not on this list. Like, Remake was a really big game for the PlayStation 4. And that game, I know personally made people buy a PlayStation 4. And Tekken 7, another great game. I'm a big Tekken person. I actually forgot to mention Tekken 5 earlier during the PlayStation 2 version. PlayStation 2 part of the video. But yeah. And then you had a mid-gen refresh with the PlayStation 5 Pro, which did upscale to 5K. 4K, sorry. Upscale to 4K checkerboarding. CP was shown. There was a very limited PlayStation 4 Pro games though, and then you also had the PlayStation VR. That was kind of the first console VR thing at the time. This is where Astrobot kind of came in. So this was the headset here. So yeah, you had Astrobot, Rescue Mission, the VR Worlds, Truth and Blood. Beat Saber was a big VR game back at the time. And yeah, that was the era of the PlayStation 2. And here's the reveal. It is now 2020. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and the PlayStation 5 drops. I got my PlayStation 5 luckily during launch month. I was just really, really diligent. Stick to Walmart. Had my information ready to go, and I clicked checkout. But yeah, this is the PlayStation 5. Came out 2020, November 2020. Great controller. Had the whole two-tone white and black thing going on. Play has no limits. That's the slogan they still use today. This is the PlayStation 5 Slim, actually, because I could tell by the feet and the gap they have in the middle of the two plates here. And yeah, so the thing about the PlayStation 5 is that it had a custom SSD, which helped the games read like super speed. So there's basically almost no loading time for any game that you have. It came with a game on it, which is like something you've probably never seen before. It came with Astro's Playroom on it. It had backwards compatibility. That's when it started coming back, because PlayStation 4 didn't have it. So backwards compatibility with PlayStation 4 games. It had a console variants. You had the disc edition, the digital edition, and then again you have the slim I guess PlayStation 5 Slim. That's what they're calling it. Digital edition, disc edition of the PlayStation 5 Slim. Sorry. And yeah, then you had like the PlayStation 5 controller. Where's mine at? I have a DualSense Edge. Basically, it's a very unique controller because, like, say it's raining, like if the developer feels like it, they could add like raindrops so you can feel it on the palm of your hands as the controllers, like as you're playing the game. I can't remember what game did that. It might have been like Returnal. Returnal did that. That was actually a really good game to take advantage of that. And then the triggers, that had adaptive triggers. So like when you fire a gun, every gun feels different. I think like Deathloop did that. This is the Axis controller that I was talking about earlier. This is the DualSense Edge that I just showed you. Iconic PlayStation games, Astro's Playroom, which came on the system, Sackboy's Big Adventure, launch title. Rift Apart came out, I think like 6 to 8 months later after the 5 came out. Gran Turismo 7, another great game. That came out like March of 2022. God of War Ragnarok, another great game. I don't think it was as good as God of War 2018, but still very solid game. It had free DLC that came out in 2023. Returnal, another great game. Very hard if you like a challenge. It's a nice, really great roguelike. Basically every time you go into a room, all the stage just resets again. If you die, then I have to go through the whole process again. But every run is different, which made the game really unique. Elden Ring, another Souls-like game from FromSoft. They did Bloodborne and all the other Demon Souls and Dark Souls and all those other games. Horizon Forbidden West, Spider-Man 2, Astrobot, which came out earlier this year. Helldivers came out earlier this year. Baldur's Gate, never played Baldur's Gate, but that came out last year. And that's when the whole PlayStation Studios became like a real big thing. They're still pumping out games. PlayStation Plus went from just PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, which is what their streaming service was. They combined them, and now you have PlayStation Essentials, Extra, and Premium tiers. And the Premium tier gets you like old school games like the PS1, PS2, PS3. That library of games, they just brought those back for the service. PlayStation starts with their loyalty plan, which is kind of like Nintendo. So anytime you buy a game, like a cartridge on Nintendo, you can redeem the points. It's kind of like that, except you get the points back, and then you can cash those points out for money, just like Nintendo. The PlayStation Portal, which if you liked my last video or one of my previous videos, I went into depth how the PlayStation Portal just had a recent update where you can cloud stream games. And then earlier this year, the PlayStation 5 Pro came out, which had a new technology on it called PSSR, which is basically their AI upscaler. So games that weren't running the best before definitely run a lot better now with their upscaler. So if you had to think of it, it was, AMD has FSR, and Nvidia has DLSS. That's basically PlayStation's version of that. And then this is their 30th anniversary collection. I just got my controller in the other day. I'm so happy about that. I really wanted the 30th anniversary Pro, but what can I say? And also the VR. The PlayStation VR 2 came out 2013, and that works with the PlayStation 5. And I don't have one. I'm not a VR person. I know I heard Gran Turismo was like the game for it though, and it came with Call of the Mountain, Horizon Call of the Mountain. I also heard Resident Evil Village is like another good game for that. I think Resident Evil 4 just came out earlier this year for the VR. But yeah, a few of my favorite PlayStation 5 games, I definitely would have to say Returnal, Alan Wake's 1 and 2, Resident Evil Village, Stellar Blade, Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 took over the first half of the year, by far. It was the first like big multiplayer game. People were excited to play multiplayer games again. Those are some of my favorite PlayStation 5 moments, and that wraps up the history of the PlayStation. Happy 30th anniversary, happy 30 years PlayStation, and I hope to be there for 30 more. And if you made it to the end of the video, type in the comments, happy 30th PlayStation. So let me know that you made it to the end. Alright guys, thank you so much. Take care, and I'll see you later. Peace. Hey guys, thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you can, let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite PlayStation moment and what is your favorite PlayStation game? And I'll definitely be replying to you in the comments. Alright, take care. Peace.
Don't forget to subscribe.